Hello friends, I am Professor N.S. Syama Prasad. Today we will be discussing budget and the important principles of budgeting because as a part of current affairs, because we know recently the Union Finance Minister introduced the budget on the 1st February. Kerala budget has also been introduced. So let us have some idea about budget, what is meant by budget and what are the important principles of budgeting. Actually, in the Indian Constitution, the word budget is not there. It is not mentioned in the Indian Constitution. It uses the words annual financial statement. In Article 112 that deals with the Union budget, the term used is annual financial statement. In 202 that deals with the state budget, the words used are annual financial statement. The budget, the term is not mentioned in the Constitution. But I shall say what is meant by budget. Actually, budget is derived from a French word, budget, B-O-U-G-E-T-T, budget. It can be pronounced as budget also. From that word, the budget is derived. Budget means a leather bag. The leather bag was used by the finance ministers, carry the budget papers. So they used to carry budget papers in the leather bag. They brought this to the Parliament, opened the leather bag and read out the budget speech. This is how the term originated, budget term originated. Now we may see, after some day, in India we can see, later the finance ministers were using briefcases or suitcases to carry budget papers. And recently we have seen, the present finance minister has been using cloth folders instead of suitcase or briefcases. Cloth folders were used, and on this the national emblem was also embedded. That is the practice now. Now we may see something about the introduction of budget by the finance ministers. In independent India, the first budget was introduced by R.K. Shanmugam Chetty. He was the first finance minister of independent India, and we got independence on 15th August 1947, and the budget was introduced in November 1947. But the interesting thing is, before India became independent, there was an interim ministry that was led by Jawaharlal Nehru, and the interim ministry, the finance minister was Liaquat Ali Khan, who later became the first prime minister of Pakistan. So you may see, first budget was introduced by R.K. Shanmugam Chetty. And now another interesting fact is that Morarji Desai has introduced 10 budgets. He has introduced the largest number of budgets. Our next place goes to P. Chidambaram, who has introduced 9 budgets. And third, Nirmala Sitharaman has introduced 8 budgets. Recent budget, that was the 8th budget. And the interesting fact is that Nirmala Sitharaman has introduced 8 budgets continuously without break. And she was the second woman minister to introduce budget, because the first budget was introduced by Indira Gandhi, and second woman minister to introduce budget was Nirmala Sitharaman. You can see, budget can be introduced only in the Lok Sabha. Even though the rule is that budget should be introduced in the Parliament, the budget should originate only in the Lok Sabha. When the Lok Sabha passes a budget, it is sent to Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha can make some suggestions, some recommendations and send it to Lok Sabha. But Rajya Sabha has no power to defeat the budget, or they have no power to pass the budget. They can only make recommendation, because Lok Sabha is a popular chamber, and Lok Sabha represents the people of India, and the nation's purse is controlled by actually the Lok Sabha. That is why the budget can be introduced only in the Lok Sabha, and budget can be passed only by the Lok Sabha. When the budget is sent to the Rajya Sabha gets 14 days time. During the 14 days time, they can discuss the budget and send a recommendation to Lok Sabha. Even if they don't do anything on the budget after 14 days, this will be sent to the President for his signature. That means the Rajya Sabha can only delay the passage of budget for a maximum period of 14 days. Another interesting thing, you must remember, the finance minister may be either from the Lok Sabha or from the Rajya Sabha. If the finance minister is from the Rajya Sabha, she has the right to come to the Lok Sabha in terms of budget. And our rule is that Ministers can attend the meetings of both houses. Even if they are not members of that particular house, they can come and attend the meeting, answer questions in the house. That is why Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, who is a member of the Rajya Sabha, can come to the Lok Sabha. She has the right to vote only in the Rajya Sabha. Similarly, another point, Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, is a member of the Lok Sabha. He can come to the Rajya Sabha, take part in the discussion, answer questions, but he has no right to vote in the Rajya Sabha. That is the situation, that is the system in our country. Now, the budget has some important principles. When we discuss the budget, you must remember there are some important principles of budgeting. The first principle is annuality. One of the important principles of budget is annuality. Annuality means the budget is normally prepared for a period of 1 year. 1 year is the ideal time, because you cannot prepare a budget for the nation for 5 years. 6 months is a short period. So normally accepted practice is that budget is prepared for a period of 1 year. That is the financial year. In India, the financial year begins on April 1st and ends on 31st of March. In some countries, financial year may begin on January 1st and end on December 31st. Anyway, before the financial year begins, the budget should be introduced. So next financial year begins, before that the budget should be introduced. And our practice for a long time was that the budget would be introduced on the last working day of February. That was a practice for a long time. And you can see last working day of February means maybe 27, 28, and in the leap year it may be 29. And Morarji Desai, we have to say, was lucky. He could sometimes introduce budget on his birthdays. That comes only once in 4 years. That is, his birthday was on February 29, and on 2 occasions he introduced the budget on his birthday on February 29th. And budget was passed only in the monsoon session. Now, after the NDA government came to power, they made a small change in the system. They decided that budget shall be introduced on 1st of February every year, and it will be passed before 31st of March. So, this year we have seen budget was presented on the 1st of February 2025. So, annuality means budget is prepared for a period of 1 year. And you must also remember, Finance Ministry prepares the budget, and Finance Ministry has a number of departments. There are about 6 or 7 departments for the Finance Ministry. It is a big ministry. And among the various departments, a Department of Economic Affairs prepares the budget of the Union government. Some basic question will be asked. Which department prepares the budget? Department of Economic Affairs of the Union Finance Ministry prepares the budget of the Union government. Second important principle is unity of budget. Unity of budget means for all the departments there will be only one budget. Single budget for all the departments. But in India, from 1924 onwards, up to about 2017, we had 2 budgets. During the British period, we had 2 budgets, and after independence also, we followed the principle of having 2 budgets. One railway budget and the other general budget. Railway was a big organization. Railway is a big organization. Railway has a separate budget. But in 2017, it was decided to do away with the practice of having 2 budgets. So from 2000 onwards, Arun Jaitley was the finance minister, and from that time onwards, we have only one budget. We don't present plural budgets. Some countries like Switzerland, Germany, France may be having plural budgets. Now unity of budget is an important principle, and there is only one budget for the whole country. And third principle is rule of lapse. Rule of lapse means the budget allotment for a department, the particular amount should be spent before the financial year ends. That means a department is allotted, for example, 10,000 rupees. That money should be spent before 31st of March of that financial year. Suppose you don't spend that money, the balance amount cannot be carried over to next year. That amount lapses. This amount goes to the department or to the government. That is known as rule of lapse. That means the unspent money sanctioned by the Parliament for a financial year, if there is any balance amount, that cannot be utilized by the department in the next year, that can be carried out next year. That is known as rule of lapse. And now, connected with the rule of lapse, there is a term March rush. You can see the officials go on a spending spree in March because finally they see so much amount is to be spent and they want to spend the whole amount before 31st of March. There will be heavy rush to spend money. That is called a March rush. Somehow or other, they will see that the whole amount is spent. Suppose they don't spend the money, they will be asked to explain why they have not spent the money, and next year they cannot demand more money. Therefore, because of the rule of lapse system, they may try to spend the whole money. That results in a spending spree, and that is called March rush. Then another important principle is secrecy. Secrecy attached to the preparation of budget. Budget is a very confidential document. Nothing about budget should leak out. The finance minister prepares the budget, and you can see that may be formally discussed in the cabinet, but everyone will not get any idea of the budget. Finance minister may consult the prime minister or the one or two ministers, and everything will be decided by the finance minister, and nothing should leak out. If any information leaks out, the finance minister will have to resign. Suppose budget is presented on the 1st of February, and before that some important information about the budget is leaked out, the finance minister will have to resign. It is said that in India, John Mackay, who was the finance minister in 1950, had resigned because some of the information about the budget leaked out. So that's a practice followed in most of the countries. Budget information should not be leaked out. And you can see, connected with the budget, preparation of budget, there is a practice called Halwa party, holding a Halwa party. Sometimes you might have seen the paper, the present minister giving Halwa to officials of finance ministry. What is done is, before the final budget is finally finalized, that is to be printed and computerized copies are to be taken. At that time, the officials will not be allowed to go home. They will be isolated in the north block. They cannot contact anybody else outside. And this system begins with the Halwa party. Why Halwa party is there? Because there is a customary practice. Good things should start with sweets. That's why the finance minister will distribute Halwa, and then this official will not be allowed to go home. They will remain there, and they can go only after the budget is presented in the house. And if any information leaks out, the finance minister will have to resign. Another important feature is budget gets a lot of publicity. Because actually the constitution says the budget should be laid on the table of the house. It is a duty of the president to see that the budget is laid on the table of the house, placed on the table of the house. But it is a practice. The finance minister comes to the Lok Sabha and makes a lengthy speech. It may last for 2 hours or 3 hours. That is not mandatory, but it is a practice that the finance ministers make lengthy speech, and this gets a lot of attention from the public. This gets a lot of publicity. When the budget is presented in the parliament, you can see everyone in India, NRIs, world bodies, people in other countries, they will listen to the budget speech of the finance minister with rapt attention. That's why I said budget gets a lot of publicity. Then another feature is there must be a close estimating. Close estimating is compulsory, because when you prepare the budget, the estimate should be as far as possible correct. If it goes wrong, that may create a lot of problem. If the estimate is not correct, sometimes ineffective execution of policies will be there. Some days there may be over taxation, unnecessary taxation will be there. So the minister should see that the close estimating is done when she prepares the budget of the union government. And one important difference between government budget and domestic budget is that in the domestic budget, we first of all find out the income, and then on the basis of income we decide expenditure. But as far as the nation is concerned, first of all they will find out how much money is to spend. Then they will try to increase the income, that is by a new taxation. Then another important principle of budgeting is, as far as possible, budget should be a balanced one. That means, if the income is more than expenditure, it is surplus budget. If the income is less than expenditure, it is deficit budget. If income and expenditure are almost same, it is balanced budget. It is not possible to have balanced budget nowadays. These are the important principles of budgeting. So we have seen how the budget is prepared by the finance minister, and the Department of Economic Affairs prepares the budget, and there is only one budget. These are important principles you may remember about budget. This class is given just to give an idea about the preparation of budget in the union government.